How's it going, Smashville? It's Catfish on Ice with your hosts, Chad Minton and Max Greenberg. What's up, Max? How you doing, man?
Not too bad. How about you on this Tuesday night?
Doing really well, man. Doing really well. We get to react to a Preds win. It hasn't happened very often this season, and it comes against a team that knocked us out of the playoffs, so that's a little extra added bonus there. Absolutely. But as we know, the Preds got a long climb to do here. I keep saying, Max, you gotta walk before you can run, right? That's what I feel about the Predators. And that first step is you got to get a win. You can't make up 10 points in the standings in one game. I know it's cliche, but you got to get the 2 points. They did that. It was a really strong game, but still some things to be concerned about from that game as well.
I think so too.
So we'll break it down a little bit, but we really want to do in the opening face-off. It's going to be all about we circled this road trip as being a critical measuring stick, and how we're going to circle back and look at where this team's at after the road trip. So our opening face-off segment tonight of Catfish and Ice episode 252 is going to be, can we consider this road trip a success or a failure? We've still got one more game left on the road trip, taking on the Seattle Kraken on Wednesday night. You might be getting ready for that already on your Wednesday if you're listening to our podcast on one of your favorite podcast platforms. But if you're watching live right now on YouTube or Facebook, then yes, tomorrow night, Preds wrap up their road trip against the Kraken. So we really got to talk about, has this road trip been a success or a failure? It's not a cut and dry answer. I kind of had to struggle with this answer because, we'll get into it. We'll save that suspense. But then we got to get into a really heated conversation. And it involves Andrew Brunette. Who would have thought that the guy just finished runner-up in the Jack Adams Coach of the Year award race, and now all of a sudden we're already talking about his seat possibly warming up and getting a little toasty. The life of an NHL head coach, Max.
Yeah, not secure at all. I mean, things can always change. It's incredible.
And, we just saw Jim Montgomery, head coach of the Boston Bruins, has been fired. That just happened recently today. So that's just, you got to tie that in because the Bruins are also an underperforming team. And you just wonder, what's Barry Trotz thinking right now? Like, does he have a lot of loyalty to Brunette? You just don't know. There's no way to know for sure. But we're going to kind of try to speculate a little bit. So stay tuned for that. I want to touch a little bit on Steven Stamkos. Is he getting into a heater? Is he finally starting? Is he trending in the right direction? I think he is. I didn't think it was as bad as he looked even early in the season because he was hitting post. He was putting shots on net. But now it's finally starting to see him really show it on the power play, which is honestly what you signed him for. Let's be honest here.
Yep.
But we'll touch on that. We're gonna bang out a lot of weekly segments, including the battle for the Central Power Rankings. We got to do an updated one of that. We're going to do a Central Division rundown. We're going to hit on a couple of hot topics that are going throughout the division to get you caught up on some things that stand out to me. Clutch Performers of the Week is going to be in tonight's episode as well. Our top 3 Preds Clutch Performers of the Week. It's a lot better than the last time we did this when, it was I gave the Post a Clutch Performer of the Week. I didn't even give a player. So, yeah, that's how bad it was. I think it's going to be a little bit better this week.
Yep.
And then we really got to talk about the Ryan Reaves hit that's just sweeping the NHL right now. The guy's got a horrendous reputation, and it was a horrendously ugly hit on Darnell Nurse. Very scary stuff.
Yeah.
The still image that I saw, it looks like it looks doctored. It doesn't even look like a real image looking at Darnell Nurse's neck and how it contorted after this hit from Ryan Reaves. So we really got to talk about that hit, and is it really as bad as it looks? Is it more about his reputation, or is this guy just a goon and we got to get him out of the league? But we'll talk about that. And then we're going to do a Titans Time segment as well to round out episode 252 with Max Greenberg. For all of our Titans fans, we will do our Titans Time segment this week. So a lot in store for you. We are brought to you by DraftKings. GameTime, and Raycon. And we will tell you all about those amazing sponsors with our promo code THPN as this episode rolls along. Thank you for sponsoring the podcast to those three amazing sponsors. And of course, we're part of the Hockey Podcast Network. Hit subscribe below if you're catching us on YouTube or Facebook right now. And join the chat. Get in on the comments. We would love to be back streaming live on X, where we used to get a lot more live engagement. But I've got to decide whether I want to fork out the money to be premium on Elon Musk X. I got to think about that. No, that's not a political statement. That's just me being. I got to figure out if I really want.
No, I mean, I don't want to spend the money to verify my own account. So
I think it could be good for the podcast, but I still got to think about it because we did used to have a lot of fun streaming live on X. But I got to think about that. But until then, we love our YouTube viewers, we love our Facebook viewers, and of course, we love our listeners all across the globe. We get listeners downloads from all around the globe. So to all of you, we love you and we thank you so much for listening to us and putting up with us every week. So let's get into it, Max, and let's do our opening face-off. And it is, of course, the road trip that we are in, the critical road trip that we're calling it. I mean, the last time I checked on Money Puck, the Predators' playoff odds are 8.4%. Now, of course, those fluctuate throughout the season. One long winning streak can dramatically increase those playoff chances. So I don't try to get too caught up in the number, but it is extremely low considering the Predators were preseason 60-something% playoff odds, according to Money Puck. So they're in the cellar still, even after beating the Canucks. But they're 1-1-2 on this road trip. They've got 6 of a possible 8 points. The competition has not been easy, to even say the least.
You got 6 points?
Colorado. You had to play at Edmonton to open the road trip. That 2-0 Calgary loss, that one really just stinks to high heaven.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they beat the Canucks, which is a very impressive win. The Canucks are picking up where they left off last year, and that is not an easy place to win. So we're going to kind of quickly break down this road trip, and I want to start with Max. Easy question, and then you can kind of break down your reasoning. And you can't say neutral. You can't, man.
All right.
Because it's really a black and white question.
All right. Okay.
Is it a success or is it a failure?
Okay.
So far, and we still got Seattle left, and you can put Seattle into your answer. Like what happens in Seattle could.
Sure. Well, first of all, Chad, I might have to correct you a bit. So I believe so far we've gotten 4 out of possible 8 points and not 6.
Oh yeah.
Either
Math
way,
is hard.
Either way, if right now, I mean, honest to God, my answer would be neutral. But right now, since we're doing yes or no, if I doubt a little bit, I'm going to say no right now. I think it's been a failure right now. You know, I think we played, you know, there were things I liked about the Colorado game and the Edmonton game. Of course, things I didn't like. I actually didn't watch the Calgary game, although it seemed bad from what I heard. Just the fact that we got shut out is not good. So, you know, that's pretty tough. And, you know, Vancouver, the game against Vancouver, we won the game. But like you said, Chad, you know, there's stuff to clean up. You know, I thought the third period in that game, we got lucky to escape out of that. I thought Vancouver was in our end the whole time. So that's not what you want to see right there. You know, they were talking in the because, you know, the Preds always post whenever they win a game, they always post a snippet from their locker room celebration, which if you haven't gone back and watched the one against Vancouver, go do that. It was actually a great video.
Yeah.
It was like a milestone night for a lot of the guys there. It was awesome. But in that video, Steven Stamkos, you heard him talking. He pretty much said, the goal is to have, you know, more points than games played on the trip. So far the Preds have played 4 games, and you know they've gotten 4 points out of it, and you know they have one more game, so they have a possibility for 6 points in 10 games. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, that Steven Stamkos was right or wrong about what he said. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not the one. You know, I'm not coaching this team. I'm not handing out their expectations or anything like that, no matter how much I like to try and act like I am. But regardless, you know, what he's saying is, you know, the Preds are still on track right now. So, you know, right now, I would say, no, I'm not satisfied. I would have really liked, you know, get 5 or 6 points on at least at this point in the trip. And we only got 4. So that's a little disappointing. And the fact that they started with 3 losses, even though 2 of them were overtime, they're still losses. So you got to keep that in mind too. And again, either way, no matter how you slice it, neither game, I would say, was a 60-minute effort. And of course, it's hard to play a full 60 minutes every single game. That's just not how hockey works.
Yeah.
But you want to you in the games against Edmonton or Colorado, you want to come away with that wins at least one of those games. Those hurt to not win, and then to get shut out in Calgary the next night, not good. And then you kind of escape by the skin of your teeth against Vancouver. So yeah, no, I'm not satisfied personally.
I can say I'm slightly dissatisfied as well, but I almost wanted to say I am satisfied only because my expectations have gotten so low for this team that it's almost like, yeah, I'll take it. But knowing where this team is at and how high this desperation level has already gotten for this team, and we're about to play the 20th game of the season for the Predators. That's how early we are still in this thing. But I've already said in previous episodes, I'm done with the excuses. I'm done with the whole, we've got plenty of time. I'm not saying the players are saying that. What I'm saying is that's the overall, trying to look at the glass half full that fans do. And I'm not saying they're wrong when they do that, but it's run dry for me personally. The whole, we've got plenty of time. It's just the desperation level is at a maximum for me right now. And the reason why I'm not satisfied, and it was a really difficult question for me to answer, is I don't like the way they're playing regardless of the result is where I'm at with it. You can play a horrible game and still get 2 points and feel very, very fortunate. Now, I don't feel that way against the Canucks. I think they did a lot of good things and they showed some progress in that game. They showed a lot of mental fortitude. And some of these veteran leaders finally stepped up in that game. Steven Stamkos gets 2 power play goals in his set up in his office, which is what you signed him for. Let's be honest. The Predators Trotz didn't go out and sign Stamkos because he thought he was going to be a stellar, elite 5-on-5 player. He signed him because he needs him to feast on the power play. That game got changed dramatically from Steven Stamkos' 2 power play goals. They were in no way fluky. They were very much vintage Steven Stamkos. The one was just a snapper, and the other one was more of a crafty goal by him, but both of them required laser pinpoint accuracy on Stamkos' part. So we're going to kind of talk about it here a little bit later in this episode. Is he finally starting to hit a heater and get into his what we signed up for with him? And we'll save that for then. But I had to bring up Stamkos in that regard in the Canucks game. Going to the early part of the road trip, you open it against Colorado. That was a rematch of an early season rematch. I didn't feel good about that game going into it because, as Max knows, and as you guys know, when I've been talking about this team in our battle for the Central Power Rankings, I think the Avalanche are a sleeping giant that are nowhere near at full strength yet. And I just didn't feel good about that game. Nathan McKinnon is a cyborg, and I thought the Predators did everything they could to get a point out of that game. Very testy game. A lot of emotions to just battle and get the point. They were trailing in that game 2-1. I believe it was Colton Sissons, if my memory serves correctly, that got the tie.
I think so. But it was a great assist by Roman Josi that got him.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. All these games start running together. And then the Edmonton game, what do you want me to say?
I felt even worse going into that one.
Edmonton's just I'm starting to feel maybe the Preds will finally beat Edmonton in 2030 or something like that. It feels that way.
It's like David versus Goliath versus
Preds
versus Oilers.
The game on this road trip that's just a gut punch is the 2-0 loss to Calgary, and it's no disrespect to Calgary whatsoever. They've actually been a lot better than what people thought they were going to be from the preseason. But to go out there and not score a single goal, and you waste another great start from UC Saros, come on now. That's a gut punch. You got to get 2 points there, or at least get another point. I hate getting these overtime points, but you got to get points here. You cannot afford to take 0 points in any games going forward. And quite frankly, you need to be getting 2 points in a lot of your games. But you definitely can't be taking 0 points in a lot of games right now. So that game stung. that game's a big eyesore on the, and then you kind of neutralize it by going out and beating the Canucks. So right now, I'm slightly disappointed. I think it's a failure, but they got chance to maybe call it a success if they can get 2 points at Seattle, which I think is very doable.
Yeah.
Very doable.
Yeah. I think you and I are very aligned with our opinions on this.
But I also thought that beating Calgary was very doable, and I couldn't have been more wrong. So they got to stop wasting these great goaltending performances by UC Saros. And how about Scott Wedgwood? Let's throw a little love to the guy.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been so hard on the guy. I've been like, I mean, if I run into that guy in public, he's probably going to like give me the dirtiest look ever. Maybe not, because he's probably a cool guy and he's used to hearing it. But I mean, I've been really hard on the guy since he was signed. I mean, I have been really hard on him. I didn't like the signing to begin with, but you know, the guy went out against an Edmonton team that just throws everything at you constantly. And he allowed the Predators to get that point.
Yeah.
And I know it's just an insignificant, measly overtime point. But when you're struggling like the Predators are, and you can at least get a point when you probably shouldn't have gotten a point, you got to look at Scott Wedgwood and say thank you for playing like you did in that game to help us get that point.
No, he made some key saves in that game. So
I got to throw some love to Scott Wedgwood there, but hopefully it is a big launching point for him. Because right now, I don't have the same confidence in Wedgwood as I did in Lankinen when he starts for UC Saros. I don't. My confidence level goes really down. And with this Predators team struggling to even get shots on goal for long periods of time in games, I mean, I can't look at this Predators team and think they can overcome bad goaltending right now. They can't. They got to have a great night from their goaltenders almost every night until they can wake up out of this offensive funk. Of course, they do get 4 goals plus an empty netter against the Canucks. So maybe that's a wake-up call a little bit. But again, they didn't get a lot of shots on goal. 22 shots on goal, I think, versus Vancouver. That's not going to win you a lot of games.
Right.
22 shots on goal. It's not.
Yeah, no, it's got to be better all around. You're right.
So they got Seattle up next. Seattle is very much a middle of the road team. They're a team that's, you wouldn't even think they're probably not even a playoff team. You look at Seattle, they are 9-1 on the season with 19 points. The Preds and the Kraken did play earlier in the season, right? And
they did. Yep, it was in Nashville.
Yeah. So it's a rematch, early season rematch. I think the Predators definitely need to get 2 points out of this game.
Yes,
that goes without saying.
Yes.
And if you can get a 2-game winning streak going and beat another team, here's another thing to remember, and this can give you a little bit of optimism here. Preds still got a lot of division games. We're only in game 20. You can start making up a lot of ground when you start playing more of these division games. You haven't played St. Louis yet this year. You haven't played Minnesota yet this year. You've only played Chicago once this year. I think you've only played Utah once. You got a lot of division games where you can make up some ground.
We've only played Dallas once as well.
Yeah, So, I mean, my thing is there is time for them to figure it out, but my thing is they got to string together a winning streak here. They've got to start getting the mojo going here. This is a good chance here. They get a quality win against Vancouver. You got a very winnable game to wrap up this grueling road trip against Seattle. You get 2 games in a row. Then you come home back to Nashville, and you see if they can really build on something. They need a winning streak, Max. I mean, I'm talking like a 4 or 5 game winning streak.
No, absolutely. No, they haven't had one this year, and they really need it badly. Yeah, that's the only thing that's going to really spark anything. You're right.
For sure. Let's get to our next segment here, and that is let's first talk about Jim Montgomery fired by the Boston Bruins. A lot of people were hinting that this was going to happen, but, man, it's just crazy because the guy – I mean, what were you saying his record was, Max? 41 losses?
I don't know about his exact record, but I believe he might – I think he only had like 41 total losses for the Bruins. Maybe they were all in regulation. I don't know exactly. Regardless, that few losses in 2 years and 2 years and 2 months, and you're fired after like a month and a half bad stretch. I mean, maybe I haven't really watched Bruins on this year, so maybe it was the right decision. I'm not noticing enough. I don't know, but that's just crazy to me.
I put them in a very similar situation as the Predators. Just they're in the Eastern Conference. I mean, they're another team. I mean, they're 8-9-3 on the season, so kind of similar record as the Predators, is slightly better, I guess you could say, but very much underperforming. Montgomery was in year 3 of his tenure with Boston. Brunette's in year 2. We don't know how strong the relationship. We expect it to be really strong, ironclad between Trotz and Brunette. So, I mean, who knows how much of a longer leash Brunette gets based on that fact that Brunette was Trotz's first head coaching hire. So he might have a little bit more of a loyalty to suffer through this for a little bit and maybe not fire the head coach first. And maybe do some other things first before he has to make probably what Trotz would never want to do, fire Andrew Brunette in his second year with Nashville after it being, because that would basically admit this was an awful hiring by me. If Trotz fires Brunette in his second year, that will be admitting failure on Trotz's part. Yeah. That will be admitting that he made the wrong head coaching hire.
Yeah.
I mean, you can never say never, because it could get so bad for Nashville where they are last place and the season is a complete lost cause, which it isn't yet. It feels it is, but it's not. There's still time to figure it out. So even then, I mean, I just wonder, it would have to get that bad, Max. I think it would really have to be like, yeah, you're in the cellar and you're staying there and you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think they can climb. I think they can climb their way up and still make things very, very interesting. Similar to what happened last year. They're going to have to rally again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with most of what you said. I certainly think at this point you can't, completely shut out the possibility of Brunette being fired, and you really can't blame anyone who thinks that he should. I understand. I've felt the same way in a lot of similar situations where the team's really underperforming, and something's got to give, and it's easiest to part with the coach, but at the same time, like you said, Chad, it's it was Trotz's prize it was his prize coaching hire that he deliberated over a month plus. And not even 2 months into the season, I don't see it happening personally. I think he had every reason to go into this year thinking that he absolutely had the right coach in Andrew Brunette. I just don't see him giving up on that early. Especially and I've said before that and Chad and I agree that it's not like this roster has no flaws. You can say he's not currently getting exactly the best out of it, but again, they have no second line center and their speed is just bad. You watch the game
against, it stands out. It
really you watch against Edmonton the other night and you could just see it. They're outmatched. And I certainly think Trotz is going to try and add to this team. And, everything we've seen over the weeks says that he is trying expeditiously to make a trade for a second line center. I've even heard he's looking at the blue line. Trotz trying to do a lot of stuff here.
And to kind of piggyback on that point, Brunette's system, which is always talked about as being kind of hard to pick up for new players, it's built on speed.
Yeah.
And so you have to wonder, I'm not making excuses for Brunette. I'm not saying he's blameless here, but you have to wonder, and maybe Trotz is thinking the same thing, I got to give this guy better weapons. I got to give this guy I got to give this guy better players to implement his system.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I don't think right now the Trotz has given the Preds or Brunette the right players exactly for his system.
I want to throw some love on Facebook to Joel, who's been a regular commenter on our live episode. What's up, Joel? Really good to see you on this Tuesday evening. Thank you for commenting on the live episode. And Joel jumps in and says, Trotz today made it sound like he's not even considering a change. I think that's not on the table this season.
I have to agree.
Recently, I put an article on Predlines.com where me and Max both write. So go check our stuff out there.
Yep.
A lot of the stuff we talk about in the podcast, we put in written form, and a lot of the topics we come up with the podcast first gets put out through the things we write about on Predline. So go check us out there. But a few days ago, I wrote that I didn't even think Brunette's seat was remotely warm, but I put a caveat on that. I said yet. Said right then and there. And I still feel that way. I don't think it's warm. It might be, I think if anything, just the outside noise is making it seem like it's warmer, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Right.
And if I could be totally misreading this situation. I could, because I'm not in there. But the way I read the situation is that Trotz sees that it's a personnel issue and not a coaching issue.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I've said that on this episode, and I've said that, I feel like I've said it on Twitter before too. Yeah, I think right now it's a pure roster issue right now. So yeah.
And you look at it, but let's go back to Montgomery here because it's still crazy to think about this.
Yeah.
The dude, so Max said 41 losses. He was right. Record of 120, 41, 120 wins, 41 losses, 23 overtime losses.
So they were in just regulation, but even still, that's insane, man.
Over 184 total games. I mean, of course, the team is underachieving for Boston.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the quote from the GM of the Bruins, and this is from Boston.com here. GM Don Sweeney. Sweeney says, quote, "Today I made a very difficult decision with regards to a coaching change. Jim Montgomery is a very good NHL coach and an even better person. He has made a positive impact throughout the Bruins organization, and I am both grateful and appreciative of the opportunity to work with him. Our team's inconsistency and performance in the first 20 games of the 2024-25 season has been concerning and below how the Bruins want to reward our fans." It's just crazy to me. He is in year 3, whereas Brunette's in year 2. I think that's a big difference, and I would be feeling a lot different right now if Brunette was in year 3. Let's say Brunette was in year 3, just like Montgomery was, and we were coming off of a very disappointing year 2 under the Brunette tenure, where let's say the team got ousted badly in the playoffs again in the first round, embarrassed, or barely scratched and clawed their way to the playoffs again. Then if we're in year 3 and the Predators are doing what we're seeing right now, I would be all on the fire Brunette train. Yeah. But we're not in year 3. We're in year 2. I mean, you got to give the guys and I say this about NHL coach firings in general. I think a lot of general managers in the NHL jump the gun and fire the coach way too quick in a lot of these situations. Yeah, I mean, not to two more things. Number one, not to get on the Bruins too much, but they fired Bruce Cassidy in a few years ago. He went on to win a Stanley Cup, and that seemed kind of like an odd decision even at the time. So that's tough. Let me read this other stat I just literally found on Instagram of all places. Okay. So Lindy Ruff, Jim Montgomery, and Dave Hackstall, all of whom were finalists for the Jack Adams Award in 2023, all have been fired within 18 months. Crazy. And it seems to be an overwhelming theme of the NHL that they just recycle through head coaches. Yeah. Just like nothing. I mean, it's crazy. And I wish I would have gotten this stat in front of me before we went live, but maybe if you have time, Max, to look it up quickly, I'd be interested to see maybe a list of the longest tenured head coaches currently in the NHL right now. And I would be interested to see how quick it drops from like the longest tenure. I know Mike Sullivan for the Penguins is up there. Right. Yeah. He might be the longest. John Cooper's got to be the longest. John Cooper, but Sullivan for the Penguins has been around a while too. Rod Brind'Amour's been around for a bit now, but I'd be really interested to see how quick that list like drops off as you get further down, to where it gets into like, coaches don't make it more than 3 or 4 years normally in the NHL. Yeah. And then normally these NHL teams turn around and just hire another guy who just got fired. And that's also what I also was thinking too, is like, if you fire, do you really think another coach? I mean, maybe Montgomery now that he's gone and he has a good track record, but like, who really, like, if you were to
I guess even before I guess don't even say that. It's part of the discussion now, but like besides one name, Jim Montgomery, who do you really think is out there to come and do
I
a
don't
better
even want to
job
think
than
about
Brunette?
it because it's not on my radar. I mean, I really don't.
Sure.
I did see I think it was NHL Watcher, which is a pretty popular
Yeah.
follow on Twitter.
Yeah.
They throw hot takes out there, but they said their prediction is, and half their prediction has come true. They predicted, this was like last week, they predicted Jim Montgomery will get fired, Brunette will get fired, and Montgomery will be the next head coach of the Predators. But this seems to happen constantly that teams just recycle through these failed head coaches, and it's like they just all swap them out and they hope something sticks. And it's just, I don't want that to happen with the Predators. I want them to stick with Brunette. I like the guy. I think the players love playing for him. I like that he was a newer head coach and hasn't been recycled a bunch in the league. Let's give the guy a chance here. He's literally hasn't even coached his 20th game of his second season for this team. So let's give it some time. But really interesting stuff there. I do think that the hot seat's going to get really hot for Brunette if, let's say, we go through this same thing for another month. Let's say a month from now, let's say going into Christmas, this team is still in this same situation where they're just by that time their playoff hopes might be close to nothing if they're still playing this poorly and they're getting beat. They're going on losing streaks. They're only finding a way to get 1 point, not 2. Their playoff hopes will be very, very slim at that point, and it's really going to get loud then. So I think this team's got like a month to really climb out of it, prove that they can play the way that they're supposed to be playing. And then, let me ask you this real quick, Max. If this team misses the playoffs, you think Brunette's job is still safe? Do you think he gets the chance to at least go into year 3 and fix it?
It's hard to say. I mean, and also part of that depends on like if the Preds try and do anything different with this roster. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to say right now. That's too
There's
far.
a lot up in the air. A lot up in the air.
That's too far.
That's why you play the games. That's why you play the games. All right. Good stuff there. This is Catfish on Ice. This is episode 252. We're presented by DraftKings. Let's tell you about our first sponsor of the night. That is DraftKings. The 2024-25 NHL season still has that new car smell. And the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers, like you may be listening right now, to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. And I know if you're a first-time sports bettor, it's overwhelming. You might not even know what over, under, and all this stuff means. I mean, I get it. It's overwhelming. But if you're thinking about having a little fun, you got a promo code THPN to check it out. But you can try betting on something simple like just picking a team to win. You don't have to get into all the complicated stuff. Just simply picking a team to win is the first thing you can use our promo code on and have some fun. So let's tell you about the Wednesday night NHL action on DraftKings. We got some good stuff coming up here, guys, for you to unleash this promo code that we're offering for you. So on Wednesday night NHL action, let's get you some DraftKings odds here. You got the Hurricanes at the Flyers, with Hurricanes as heavy road favorites at -230. You got the Golden Knights at the Maple Leafs. That should be a really entertaining game, and it's a very close line according to DraftKings, with the Maple Leafs as the home favorites. Sharks at the Dallas Stars. That is a lopsided matchup on paper, with the Stars a -440 home favorite. And, of course, our Nashville Predators are at the Seattle Kraken, and DraftKings actually has the Predators as very slight road favorites.
Ooh, okay.
Very interesting, Max. That kind of surprised me a little bit.
I'll take it.
So there's what DraftKings thinks about some of the Wednesday night action. So if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So just $5. Just put $5 on the line. You got $150 in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights reserved. Let's move along here in episode 252 of Catfish and Ice. And let's talk about Steven Stamkos. I like what I'm seeing from him. I think he's starting to get a little bit more comfortable. Of course, the power play is this no shock to anybody. It's no secret that Stamkos's value and the reason why Trotz got him was his power play presence. Well, we'd like to see him play better in 5-on-5, of course. And I think Stamkos feels like he could play better at 5-on-5. But that's a whole team issue right now. That's not a Stamkos issue.
Right.
The whole team is playing like garbage at 5-on-5. So we'll start with that. But, I mean, Stamkos is up to 5 power play goals, 6 overall on the season. That's second on the team, tied with Gus Nyquist. Forsberg is your goals leader with 8. He's putting a lot of shots on net. I think he has definitely looked a lot more comfortable out there and even shown a little speed here and there.
In overtime on Monday against the Avalanche, he had a burst of speed on a shift.
Yes. So he's hit some posts this year. He's been victim of some really outstanding saves that have kept him from scoring more goals. So I like where he's trending, Max. How about you? How are you feeling about Stamkos?
I do too. No, I think a lot of what you said is correct. Beginning of the year, he had some really bad luck hitting posts. Like, it's not like he wasn't getting his shots. A lot of them were just weren't going in for one reason or another. And a lot of them were not even like he was missing net. He was getting really, really close. Now he's finding the, back of the net. And a lot of, Trotz, of course, like you said, signed for the power play. But a lot of, what makes Steven Stamkos and his ability to play at his age right now is his IQ and, him knowing what to do and where to be and all that. And that goal against Vancouver, the first goal he had that night was a perfect example. You said it was a crafty shot, not really like an absolute just bullet of a slap shot, but just, it wasn't like a weak shot or anything, but it was a perfectly on target shot that honestly kind of looked like a pass at first. Like he was that deceptive with it. And that's the kind of stuff you want to see from Steven Stamkos. And, we're seeing more and more of that recently, and I agree. I think he's starting to heat up, and I think that the power play is going to gain more confidence because of it.
And the Preds power play, don't look now, but it's up to 9th. Last time I checked.
I was scrambling to look. What is the percentage?
I think it was like around 22%.
It's not terrible.
22 or 23%. Now, they might not be 9th anymore because there's been some games since then. I haven't looked at Monday night's action and how that affected. I can look it up right now. But either way, they were top 10 last time I checked. And, of course, we know about their penalty kill. So you've got a penalty kill and a power play that's top 10, and you look at where you're at in the standings, you're asking yourself, make it make sense. Make it make sense. Well, it's 5-on-5.
That's if there's an area of the team I'm going to say is encouraging, that's it right there. The fact that from special teams, you're actually looking pretty good, especially the penalty kill.
It's 5-on-5, and it's kind of what plagued this team last year as well. It's finishing. You can't finish on your shots. This team's got the worst collective shooting percentage in the league right now. So that's a number you keep waiting to just the law of averages will correct itself and they'll get a better shooting percentage. And then you'll start scoring more goals, and then naturally you'll start winning more games. It all goes hand in hand. So, you keep telling yourself this and hoping that it's going to correct itself soon because you're running out of time. Okay, so the Predators are 9th in the power play with a 23.3% success
Where are you
rate.
looking at this, by the way?
Just on NHL.com.
It's maybe just bad on my phone.
Yeah, 23.3% success rate. So that really surprised me. I didn't know they had already gotten up that high.
Yeah,
on their power play.
that does seem high, but we'll take it.
We will take it. But to be top 10 in both penalty kill and power play and be where you're at in the standings is just insane to me. And so you just hope that some things are going to start correcting themselves. Last year, the Predators were 16th on the power play with a 21.6% success rate. So it doesn't sound like a huge jump, but they have improved in their overall percentage from last year. So that's something that Andrew Brunette can put a feather in his cap about and feel better about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, special teams you can actually feel good about. And you can't say that you haven't been able to say about this. You haven't been able to say that about this team for a while.
But when it comes to Stamkos, it wasn't that surprising to me at all that he started off slow. It really wasn't. I mean, the guy played for the same team his entire career. It was a very emotional exit. The team has struggled to find his line mates. Max, you mentioned the fact that this team can't figure out who the heck their second line center is going to be.
Not even close.
And I hate to make excuses for Stamkos. I'm not trying to, because you shouldn't have to make excuses for a future Hall of Famer. But that matters, that you can't figure out who's going to distribute the puck for Stamkos. And, of course, Stamkos has been moved around a bunch. They've even tried him on the top line.
Yeah.
But, I think they're going to have to figure out what the second-line center role is going to be. And Max, you were Nostradamus on this. You called this before the season started.
Yeah.
That this was going to be a potential issue.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for identifying that so soon.
But I am not the only one who said that. I know. But
I'm
far from the only one who pointed that out.
I know. But at the same time, Novak is back. He missed some time. He was hurt.
Yep.
So maybe they re-explore Novak in that role.
I mean, maybe it was only a few plays here and there, but one of the biggest things about Novak was that just physically he didn't have it. And I saw him the other night; he was winning some battles against the Canucks, so it might be something to note.
I think you try it again.
You might have to.
You might have to, because they tried Parsonen up there. They've tried Stamkos at center. They tried Colton Sissons at center.
You don't want that.
I don't like Colton Sissons as a second line center. I love the guy. I love what his role is and what he does. His role is not a second line center.
No.
It's putting a square peg in a round hole.
But it might be it's a top two option on this team right now.
Well, yeah, because you got nothing else.
Nobody.
And that's no offense to Sissons. It's just the way it is. He's not an offensive producer prolifically. He's not.
Not one bit.
Okay. Let's tell you about our next sponsor, and that is the GameTime app. The GameTime ticket app to get last-minute tickets. Of course, nothing beats the sensory of excitement of going to your first live hockey game. There's still so many chances if you haven't been to your first live hockey game yet. Maybe you're a Preds fan. Maybe you live in Nashville. Maybe you watch the Preds all the time on TV, but you just haven't made it to that first live hockey game. You might have just started becoming a fan this year. Sorry for you, but they're going to get better. But either way, you might be thinking, I got to figure out a way to go to my first live hockey game. I got to get there. TV's not doing it justice, and you are right about that. It doesn't do
not
justice. Like the chill of the ice or the slam of the boards. And my memory of my first NHL game, I tell it all the time, was even a hockey fan when I went to my first NHL game, and I left being a diehard fan. So that's what can be next for you. And the GameTime ticket app can help you get to your first hockey game. Maybe they can help you get to your first hockey game this Wednesday in Smashville, because that's how quick you can get tickets with the GameTime app. So with that said, you got the super deals and how good it is, and as well as all these other tiers of deals that are out there. And it's not just hockey or sports. It's concerts, it's theater shows, it's all different. It's comedy. Anything else you're into that requires a ticket, the GameTime app is probably going to be there for you as well. You've got curated deals that make it easier to find the best price on great seats. You got the super deals. You got seat views before you buy, and the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. And of course, the all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout, which is so important to me. I don't want to see those extra 30 or 40 bucks tacked on at the end. What's my ticket price? That's what I want to pay. And of course, you get the panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you feel like you're in your seats before you buy them. You got the ticket coverage, GameTime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. And of course, you've got the curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. So download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it? It is game time. It is the only ticketing app out there that gives you a peace of mind with your purchase. So many ways to save money on tickets, no matter when you buy. And of course, the guarantee is you'll always get the best price. And I can promise you that. Like GameTime, I've used it so much in the past. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsoring the show. I'm being dead serious here. GameTime is it really is. I like it over all the other ticketing apps because it really is all the things that they say they are when it comes to user-friendly experience, giving you the best price out there, and giving you that user-friendly experience. So you got to check it out if you haven't been to your first hockey game, or if you have another event you're wanting to go to in the future, get the GameTime app and get our $20 off with our promo code THPN. All right, Max, let's do our Central Division rundown and also our battle for the Central Power Rankings. But before we do the Power Rankings, let's hit on a couple teams right now in the Central Division rundown. Let's first talk about the Blackhawks, and let's talk about Connor Bedard. He has not been in the headlines at all this year, Max. After being so good in his first season, his rookie year, he's been held in check. I think he's got 3 goals in his last 18 games right now.
Ooh. Yeah, not great. Obviously he's young, and he's got a lot ahead of him. But you never want to see a guy regress. It's year 2. This is the point where you expect him to take a step forward. It seems like that hasn't happened now. And of course, certain guys are late bloomers. Even number 1 overall picks, I believe Jack Hughes was this way. I think so was Alexei Lafreniere for the Rangers. So, this is not to say that Connor Bedard's going to never find his stride. And, I don't want to wish it on him. I'd love it for the sake of the Blackhawks not finding their guy. I'd love for that to happen. Obviously, it's way too early to say anything like that. But, yeah, but I guess what's going on with Bedard right now is concerning. I didn't know 3 goals in his last 18 games.
Yeah. Major slump for him, but of course he's playing on a really, really bad team. One of the worst teams in the league.
But they got better.
We thought they got better.
Maybe on paper they did.
Maybe they are slightly better.
Preds, I guess.
Maybe they are slightly better, but they had nowhere to go but up, considering they finished in like 50-something points last year. It was one of the worst finishes
I feel
in a long
Tyler
time.
Bertuzzi and what's his face? Should have been serviceable line mates.
Many of their veteran pickups aren't really doing much for them. You look at Taylor Hall; he's on the trade block right now, or he was healthy scratched, I think, recently.
Is he really?
Yeah. So the Blackhawks are definitely.
He might not be the same. He was injured like all of last year.
Yeah. All right, so let's move along here. Let's get to our next team. That's the Minnesota Wild. That's a team that I really undervalued them going into the season. I'm going to get to that a little bit more in the Central Division battle for the Central Power Rankings we're about to tell you here. But I want to talk about Kirill Kaprizov. The guy is pushing for the league lead in points right now for the year. He is only a few points behind Nathan McKinnon for the league lead in points. And we're far enough into the season now where that's a pretty good sample size. And Kaprizov's always been a electric player. We always known he's got elite level status. But to be near the top of the league in scoring, the Minnesota Wild are also getting great goaltending. That's a big thing that's propelling them to outperform there. They're kind of the opposite of the Predators right now. Where we thought the Predators would be at this point in the season, that's where you see the Minnesota Wild. It's like if you flip-flop those two teams right now, it would make way more sense based on where we thought these teams would be in the preseason.
And guess who coaches Minnesota?
John Hines.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy what the Wild are doing right now. No one expected them to be any good. I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and maybe this makes me look salty or whatever, but with one thing the Preds experienced under John Hines is that he tends to be very streaky a lot of times. I remember in his first year, and I'm not going to count the 2020 end of regular season in the bubble. I don't. That doesn't count for me. I'm sure it's the same with you, Chad.
Yeah.
Starting from the 2020-2021 season, the team started off horribly, then finished really strong. Took that to the next year, started strong, finished horribly, and then started horribly the next year, and then really kind of never found their footing. So, John Hines teams have their way of, being erratic, and we'll see if that happens to the Wild. One thing I will say is, I think I think Kirill Kaprizov is a more prolific offensive producer and player than anything the Preds ever had under John Hines. Even Philip Forsberg, I will say. But right now, the Wild very much, just because I know the history of their head coach is kind of making me think, let's see them go for a whole year.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm about to kind of talk about that a little bit more in the power rankings coming up here, and I'll see where you have your power rankings this week. But also, want to circle back. We're going to compare John Hines to Brunette. It's very interesting. So points percentage. So this is like the amount of points you get as a head coach, not when you do the wins, losses, overtime losses. Brunette has a lower points percentage than John Hines did for his tenure, and it's slightly lower, but it's a little surprising when I saw that.
I guess that puts into account last year, right?
Yeah.
Last year the Preds, from a talent standpoint, had almost nothing compared to what they have this year, so you got to take that into account. And the fact that, they are still close at the end of the day, so I guess you got to see more, but that is shocking. Just hearing that.
All right. And finally, on the Central Division roundup here, and then we'll get into our battle for the Central Power Rankings. It's the Winnipeg Jets. They cool off a little bit. They finally take a couple losses, but they're still maybe they're showing a little bit of weaknesses finally, but the team is still obviously with Connor Hellebuck, as I would call him, the Vezina Trophy front runner or one of them. They're a very well balanced team, and so I'm waiting to see if they hit the losing streak. If they hit the inevitable losing streak that every NHL team goes through. They won 14 of their first 15 games, which has never been done in NHL history. I feel like that should be being talked about way more. Like if the Jets were a bigger market team, let's say the Maple Leafs were doing this right now.
Oh my God.
It would be like on every headline and shoved down our throats constantly 24/7. But since it's the Jets, I've hardly heard about it. They just made NHL history to win 14 of their first 15. In regulation, 14-1-0. And I feel like no one's really talking about it.
Yeah, no, it's been very quiet, comparably speaking. And
they don't have a lot of superstars on their team. They're not as flashy. You've got Kyle Connor, you've got some really quality players. But clearly they have quality players or they wouldn't be doing what they're doing, but they don't have a lot of superstars.
Yeah. They are up right now 4-2 on the Panthers with 6 minutes in the game. So
that's impressive.
Yeah.
The Panthers are arguably the best team in the league right now.
Defending Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah. So, that's a big measuring stick game right there for sure. And I'm not, even if they lost to the Panthers tonight, I would never, ever say that the Jets are imposters. I think they are this good, but you're waiting for them to cool off a little bit. So they haven't lost a couple games. Let's see if they cool off. But with that said, let's get it on the screen for our YouTube and Facebook viewers. These are my rankings, and then Max always kind of like critiques them, and he'll give his. But let me get it on the screen here first. And then we also still got to do our clutch performers of the week as well. We haven't done that in a little bit. But battle for the Central Power Rankings right now. How much have our rankings changed since a couple episodes ago when we did this? And it's on the screen now. So there you have it. I do have the Jets still at number 1, even though they did take a couple losses. They're 15-3-0 on the season. Looks like they might have a good chance. They're up 4-2 on the Panthers. That even really solidifies their top spot here in the rankings. But they're 15-3-0 on the season, 30 points. I got the Dallas Stars. I really struggled with 2 through 4, Max. Full disclosure.
Yeah.
So if you defer from me, I'm not going to blame you for it. It was really hard. It was like a coin flip for me to figure out 2 through 4. But hear me out on this. Minnesota they're 11-3-3 on the season, but I'm pretty sure they've lost head-to-head and to some of these teams, and they have really the entire Central Division in their last 10. The entire division is kind of struggling right now outside of the Jets. Like, none of these teams are looking like world beaters right now, except for the Jets. Even the Dallas Stars, I think they just lost. The Stars just lost to the Ducks. So 4-2. So, I mean, I really didn't want to keep the Stars there, but again, I just know that who they are and how good they're going to be as they get better. So I got Dallas Stars at number 2. Still, they're 11-6-0 on the season with 22 points. So my top 2 did not change. I've got Colorado all the way up to number 3 now. They're a sleeping giant. They're 10-9-0 on the year now. They're going to keep getting better and better, and I just don't – their goaltending is the only thing that gives me pause about them. So, but other than that, it was really a toss-up between Colorado and Minnesota. But I put Colorado ahead of Minnesota. I got Minnesota at number 4 at 11-3-3 on the season with 25 points. I got Utah Hockey Club moving up a spot in my rankings to number 5. 7-8-3 on the season with 17 points. But again, Utah Hockey Club, they've been struggling as well lately. So that kind of gives you a little bit of hope for the Predators. Like, hey, the rest of the division's not playing too great either. Like, I mean, a lot of these teams are trading wins and losses right now. But I've moved the Predators up to number 6. 6-10-3 on the year, 15 points. I moved them up from number 6 from number 7. I put the Blues back at number 7 right now.
Well, they're slumping.
I think they've won one game, I think, in their last like 6 or 7, something like that.
I think that's about right.
They look bad right now. They look bad. And all of those losses in recent times have been in regulation except for one. I mean, they're not just getting beat. They're not even getting overtime. Yeah. So the Preds are only 2 points behind the Blues now. So I think the Preds can eventually pass the Blues in the division and stay ahead of them for good as we get more games under our belt here and the season starts really rounding into form. So I'm going to keep the Preds at number 6, but I'm very cautious about that. Blues at number 7, 8-10-1 on the season with 17 points. I dropped them 2 spots. They're my biggest follower. I dropped them from number 5. And I still got Chicago at number 8, last in the division. 6-11-1 on the season with 13 points. We just mentioned Connor Bedard struggling badly for them, and they really don't have much else outside of him. So there's my rankings, Max. Give us yours.
So we had Winnipeg at number 1. Not really much else to say there. They're still doing really well, even though they've lost 2 in a row. Technically, that's not enough to discount what they've done. And they're still up 4-2 right now. Even though the Panthers have an empty net power play right now with 3.5 minutes left. So
it's not over yet.
Not over yet, but even still, I don't think that loss would take them out of number 1 for me right now.
No.
The only thing I will say, I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised you have Minnesota quite down low. They're number 2 for me. It was kind of a coin flip between Dallas and Minnesota. But, Minnesota's got more points now. And again, like you said, Dallas did just lose to Anaheim. So that impacted it for me. Colorado, I had at number 4. I don't know. Even though they're injured and, they should be better when they get completely healthy, they're still kind of, fifth so right now. So I think number 4 is about a good spot for them. But 5 through 8, you and I had dead on in agreement.
So Minnesota actually just lost head-to-head to Dallas. That was a big reason for me to put Dallas ahead. Yeah. I hold a lot of weight in head-to-head. Also, the Minnesota Wild lost to the Blackhawks in overtime recently.
Okay,
that holds a lot of weight. Now, again, Dallas lost to Anaheim, so they both have ugly losses recently. And like I said, 2 through 4 was a coin toss for me. It was not easy. I mean, that's why these rankings are so hard to do right now. Yeah. So it's no disrespect to Minnesota whatsoever. I just find it hard to believe the full body of work as the season rolls on that they're gonna be better than Dallas or Colorado.
Yeah, no, I see that. But, main thing for me right now is, with the power rankings, a lot of it is right now. So,
I mean, they just lost 2-1 to Dallas. What does that mean?
yeah, no, it's true. But Dallas also lost to Anaheim. So,
But head to head, man, head to head
True.
holds a lot of weight for me.
True.
But yeah, dead on 5 through 8 though. That's pretty amazing there. And of course, Nashville did beat Utah Hockey Club 4-0. Their best win, their most resounding win of the year, I would say.
Yeah,
so that means something, but not enough for me to jump Nashville on Utah, even though they're only 2 points behind Utah Hockey Club right now. Yeah. So there's a lot of bunched up teams 5 through 8 right now. They're like all right next to each other. So that 5 through 8 can flip flop a lot here in the next few games. And then, of course, what you see is teams 1 through 4 just kind of separating themselves from the pack. So if you're looking at it from the Predators standpoint, you don't want to be teams 5 through 8. You didn't have those kind of expectations. You were expected to be in the top 3 this year. When you saw what they did in free agency, you expected to be a top 3 team. And when you see really the top 4 teams starting to separate themselves from the rest of the pack, that's concerning if you're a Predators fan because you expected to be in that top tier of the division.
Absolutely.
All right. There's our battle for the Central Power Rankings for this week. We're about to do our clutch performers of the week, and we're also going to do some Titans time. We're going to talk about the Ryan Reaves hit. It's very controversial. So we still got a few more things, a little bit more business to attend to before episode 252 wraps up. Let's tell you about our last sponsor as well tonight, and that is Raycon. And so right now, you always get the great deals on Cyber Monday and Black Friday. I'm more of a Cyber Monday guy because I hate physically going into stores and shopping. I just don't. I don't like shopping at all. I shop as little as possible every year, as much as humanly possible. But either way, you've got Cyber Monday and Black Friday deals with Raycon. Because with Raycon, you get an amazing deal on premium audio every day of the year. But that doesn't mean they're not having any sales for Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Far from it. They're actually doubling down on their amazing value by offering our viewers up to 30% site-wide on their site. So it's something you can appreciate every day. Raycon's everyday earbuds, especially if you haven't checked out their latest model, which includes plenty of new features that make them even more of a must-have for any audio lover. For example, they now feature a 32-hour battery life and multi-point connectivity that lets you pair with 2 devices at once. Raycon's everyday earbuds also come with active noise cancellation. It's a feature that's a must-have for when you're on those long flights, or for me, it's more when I'm in a very busy place and I got to focus. Maybe I might be writing a Preds article and I'm out in public and I gotta really hone in and focus. The Raycon noise cancellation earbuds can really come into play for you there. And that's another thing. Although Raycon's quality rivals some of the biggest names in premium audio, Raycon started just half the price as the other guys. So they're already an incredible deal, even before you factor in the Black Friday and Cyber Monday offers of up to 30% off. So you're getting a double whammy there. You're already getting a great deal on earbuds when they're full price, and you're still getting 30% off site-wide. So you can go out there and get some earbuds, a great Christmas gift for any of your family or friends out there who need some new earbuds. So with that, my favorite thing about the everyday earbuds is, of course, the noise cancellation and, of course, the really great fit that they have. Raycon's everyday earbuds are also available in a variety of vibrant colors, so you don't have to just have the standard issue white or black earbuds sticking out of your ears. So my favorite color, you got to go with Preds colors. You got to go with some gold, some Preds gold, of course, would look great. So now's the perfect time to scoop them up if you haven't already. And don't worry, if you're not as impressed as I am, Raycon offers a 30-day happiness guarantee, so you really can't lose. It's time to save big for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Go to buyraycon.com/TPR THPN today to get up to 30% off site-wide. That's right. You'll get 30% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/THPN. Running out of time, and we got Black Friday coming up soon. You want to stay ahead of the game. You don't want to be a last-minute holiday shopper like I am. Don't do that. Just get ahead of the game. Just get ahead of the game and snatch up some Raycons for your family and friends and get it all knocked out now. All right, let's do our clutch performers of the week. Max, I'm going to put it on the screen as well. But how about you start us off first before I put mine on the screen? Okay. Who are your 3 clutch performers of the week?
Number one, I would say, I actually hadn't prepared as much as you, but I kind of thought too. I would say number one is Roman Josi. I think he's had a really good road trip. I was in a few episodes ago almost calling him, I dare say, washed because I thought
we both were.
Yeah,
we both were really hard on the guy. And he deserved it. He didn't look good.
Yeah, he didn't look good. I thought his skating was not there at all. But this road trip, he's really turned it around. He had a great assist, like we talked about Monday night against Colorado. He played really well against Vancouver. He had a goal too, the go-ahead goal in that game that officially kept the Preds and made it 3-2. The Preds were leading the whole way through that. After that, that was really good to see. And I just think it's one of those things where he's starting to find himself more. We talk about Steven Stamkos starting to kind of get hot. I also think you can say the same about Roman Josi, but also he's impacting at even strength as well. So I have to give a lot of credit to the captain. Number two, I would say Steven Stamkos. Like we talked about before, I think he's starting to really heat up, and you have it right there too. 2 power play goals against Vancouver that pretty much sparked the comeback. And I was also going to say UC Saros too. I mean, he's going to do so well all year. He's one of the few guys on the team where I can say he's really not been the problem. He's been outstanding all year. The game against Colorado, he actually did give up a kind of a soft goal there, but besides that, he played really, really.
I mean, the guy's human. He's going to give up,
right? Then I didn't watch against Calgary, but he seemed like he played well. He seemed like he played pretty well there. And against Vancouver, he gave up 3 goals, but I thought he still played a good game. So again, yeah, UC
just to give you a little bit on that Calgary game. UC Saros had a 1.98 goals saved above expected.
Wow,
that's insane for one game. He's saved an extra 2 goals. So if anything, I mean, now the goalie for Calgary also had a great game. Obviously, if you get a shutout, but the point is, Saros did everything he could to give the Predators a chance to win that game. And that game was 0-0 until late.
Yeah, I was tracking and I saw that.
Just to give you an idea of that Calgary game, because it was a late night game and a lot of people actually missed that game.
And can I give an honorable mention?
Of course.
Yeah. Honorable mention, and I don't know, maybe the fan base might kill me for saying this. I would say the 4th line, because they on Thursday night against Edmonton, Cole Smith got that goal that tied the game. But I mainly put the 4th line in here because let's celebrate Zachary Leroux's first NHL goal on Sunday night.
It was a slam dunk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that I really mentioned the 4th line for that reason right there. We couldn't go this whole episode without talking about Zachary Leroux's first goal. He's been chomping at the bits every time since he's been in the lineup. You just feel like he's going to get the first goal. It's coming. And then he finally gets it on Sunday night, just crashing the goal.
I mean,
round of applause for Zachary Leroux.
Absolutely.
He's finally done it.
And I see the confidence really growing in him too. I mean, you just see it in his demeanor and in the way he carries himself. He looks like a player who's been in the league for a couple years.
Yeah. And his antics are nowhere to be found.
And the points will start coming, but you know what? Those will come in time. But right now, the guy's doing all the right things for the most part. He's definitely does not look like a liability out there. He's playing the role perfectly where they have him with Cole Smith and Michael McCarron. And it's turned out to be a really good line. I mean, you've kind of filled in the vacancy that Kiefer Sherwood left behind.
And he scored a goal against us on Sunday.
Yeah, you just saw that coming. It's like clockwork. Former Preds always burn the Preds. Yeah, they always do. You still got to be happy for Kiefer Sherwood, though.
Oh, yeah, I know. Kiefer Sherwood's a good player.
So here's mine. I got it on the screen, but very similar to Max, almost the same. I got it 1 through 3, 1 being the top clutch performers. So let me go in reverse order. My third clutch performer of the week is Roman Josi. He has 4 points on the road trip. He has looked much more like the Roman Josi we know to expect. I'm seeing him. His skating is a lot better. He's holding the offensive zone. The passes are a lot crisper. It just looks much smoother from him and what I expect to see out of him. So I got to put him at number 3 as being the captain and being the leader. I put Steven Stamkos at number 2. 2 power play goals versus Vancouver in the win. I feel like he could string together more consistency, and it's getting there. It's starting to get better. But I had to put him at number 2 just because he propelled that win against Vancouver with those absolutely. 2 power play goals. So he's my number 2 clutch performer of the week. And my number 1 clutch performer of the week, and we're basically calling our clutch performers of the week this road trip because it's like 8 days. The road trip's been 8 days. Today's day 9 of the road trip. So we're just gonna we're including all 4 games in our clutch performers. My number 1 clutch performer of the week is UC Saros. He's got a 1-1-1 record, which doesn't sound great, but I look at his save percentage, 0.923 save percentage in his 3 games on this road trip. That's good enough to win a Vezina Trophy if you do that for an entire season. So he gets my top clutch performer of the week, UC Saros.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, awesome. Let's quickly, Max, because it's such a big story in the league. Let's touch on the Ryan Reaves hit real quick.
Yeah.
Let me give you my take on it first, and it's probably not a super popular one, but I think the guy's reputation is what's making this really loud. And there's 2 things. It's his reputation, which I am not defending his reputation. Do not conflate this as me defending Ryan Reaves and his reputation, because I'm not. The guy's a goon. The guy headhunts. But I got to look at it just on this play. I can't look at all of his past plays and then look at this play and climb into his head. All I can go off of is what I see in slow motion and how everything went. Now, was it a reckless hit? Does he deserve to be suspended? Absolutely. It was a reckless hit. Do I think he was headhunting? I think he was intentionally going out to intentionally crack the skull of Darnell Nurse and snap his neck and really like risk the chance of ending Darnell Nurse's career. Maybe I just look at the positive in humanity and I just think no way a player could be that big of a bad person to do something like that. I don't think Ryan Reaves was trying to do what ended up happening on that hit. I think he was trying to make a really hard hit. Darnell Nurse had his head down. And unfortunately, hockey is a timing sport, especially when you go out and lay hits. It is all about timing. And Ryan Reaves' timing was off, and that's on him, and that's why he deserves to be suspended. But do I think he was headhunting and intentionally trying to snap the neck off of Darnell Nurse with that hit? I'm not going to go that far. I'm not. I think the suspension is fair. He's got a horrible reputation. If it's not Ryan Reaves and it's just some random player that does this same hit, the same result, I don't think the noise is as quite as loud.
Yeah. I see what you're saying for sure, Chad. It's, like you said, it's a pretty cut and dry bad hit, and it's irresponsible by Ryan Reaves. He did leave his skate. And he got him really up high. Obviously, there's got to be some consequence, and I do see what you're saying about that maybe it wasn't the most malicious intent in the world, but me personally, and I'm gonna kind of echo, but like, sort of disagree a little bit with what you're saying, as far as, if it was another player, I think you could give the benefit of the doubt and be like, okay, it's a one-time thing, we'll give you a warning, but, don't do this again kind of thing. But it's Ryan Reaves. He does this kind of stuff all the time. And with the way I'm thinking is with that is like, a guy like that, to me, he's kind of lost the benefit of the doubt. I mean, it's a dirty, irresponsible hit. And he's honestly lucky he didn't become more than 5 games.
I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt on the hit. I think the hit warrants a suspension, and you're responsible for when you go out to make a hit like that. If your timing's off and that's what ends up happening, you're responsible for that. So I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt that it was a bad hit with a really bad result. He's responsible for that. He has to live with that. My thing is, I don't think he was intentionally trying to go out and lay out that serious kind of punishment. Why would a guy want to intentionally go out and get suspended for his team for 5 games? I mean, do we really think I think he's a goon. He is a dirty player. I'm not saying he's not, but I also think the way he plays the game is he takes chances and he goes out and lays really hard hits.
Yeah.
And he has to live with the consequences when his timing is off and when something like that happens. I mean, if you're trying to get that stuff out of the game in hockey, then you're going to have to start laying down way more serious punishments than 5 games, first of all. And second of all, it's going to be really hard for them to get that out of hockey because it is a very violent and fast sport. And so if you want to get hits out of the game, then you're going to have to come up with some new rules and some new penalties and some new punishments. Because guys are going to keep going for those big hits. It's allowed in the game if it's legal, and if your timing's off by just a little bit, that's the result you get. If his timing would have been just a little bit better, and if his hit would have been just a little bit lower, more of a shoulder to the chest, it still would have been a brutal hit. The guy's Darnell Nurse still would have went flying, and it still would have been very ugly and dangerous because. I mean, he was skating with his head down, and he wasn't.
That's true. You got to keep your head up.
Now that doesn't. I'm not saying that Reaves shouldn't be punished or that it was a dirty hit, but these things happen. And again, his reputation is really what damns him in this situation. Yeah. His reputation is so bad that you don't get the benefit of the doubt. You're right, Max. He doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm just calling the play for what it is without the player. I'm not looking at the players. I'm just looking at the hit itself.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get these hits out of the game because if your timing's just off a little bit, that's what happens.
Yeah, no, it was not good. And
and Nurse is going to be out for a while. And ultimately, the most important thing is that guy's okay. And that he can come back from this. Because, I mean, the still image I saw of his neck contorting like that, I mean, it is scary.
Yeah.
Really scary
really,
stuff.
Really bad.
All right, let's round out episode 252 of Catfish on Ice with Titans time with Max Greenberg. Max's favorite time of the week. He gets to catch us up on the Tennessee Titans. They're coming off a loss. Oh my God, this is gonna be bad, man. So I'm off Sundays now from work, so I get to actually watch the Titans every Sunday now. I mean, let's begin, Max, with the officiating. And I know we hate to talk about officiating, but I mean that
was insane.
That unnecessary roughness penalty,
and it wasn't just that. Like,
I mean, if the guy doesn't make that hit, which was completely legal, the guy catches it. So what's the player supposed to do? Just sit back and let him catch it?
Nothing. And what's crazy about that play to me is, so like if one ref has like a lapse in judgment or whatever and throws a flag that happens, maybe the other refs can come in and correct it. But there were 2 flags thrown on the play. Your refs just were terrible. And there was another play in the game as well where the Titans had a late hit out of bounds, and it was a late hit 100%. But they called a face mask, I believe, or something, and it wasn't that at all. And there was
it wasn't a critical play, but I was watching for everything at that point. And they also called a late hit out of bounds on a special teams, a kick return.
That was it. What I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, okay, that's the one. Yeah, I mean the guy was in his tackling motion before the guy even stepped out of bounds. He's still in the field of play.
Face mask, I believe, and it wasn't at all.
It's just, it really demoralizes you because you recognize the Vikings are a better team than the Titans are, but like the Titans they had a chance to win that game.
Yeah, and I'll get into a bunch of this, but basically, here's what I'm going to go over with. I could go over a lot of these calls from the Titans-Vikings game, but as you said, that one, the unnecessary roughness on 4th and goal, the Titans had to stop 4th and goal. And let me also say, I am so appreciative of Brian Callahan for that reaction he had. He was so mad. He got a flag for unsportsmanlike conduct. I don't care. He got gotten ejected.
He
I
earned
wouldn't
it.
have cared. Like he had every
Get your
right
money's
there,
worth
and
at
that
that
makes the
point.
players want to play for him. All that stuff. Like it was so bad. But also the other calls in the game. There was a pass interference early in the game that was debatable. My one buddy thought it was a call. I didn't think so personally. And I thought it was honestly a superstar call. I think few receivers but Justin Jefferson get the call that happened on there. I believe there was a face mask or something on a third down where Jeffrey Simmons had a sack that would have ended the drive.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
I saw somewhere during the game that I think the Vikings had 7 or 8 first downs as a result of a penalty.
Yeah. And then so right there we're talking about from those penalties that I just mentioned, we're talking about a 21-point swing because all those drives that the Vikings got extended when they were dead on that drive because of penalties that shouldn't have been called. And then the illegal formation penalties, one of which wiped away a incredible touchdown from Will Levis to Calvin Ridley.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah, there was 3 illegal called on the same guy. And I thought one of them maybe you could have called, but still. And again, I'm the ultimate. And I believe, Chad, you would say this from following me on Twitter, others too. I'm the ultimate don't blame the refs guy. Yeah. I think you can do it here. There were
your hands forced. At this point, your hands forced.
There was a 27-point swing due to bad calls. 27.
That's crazy.
Ridiculous. But I'm going to stop talking about refs for a second, talk about things we can control.
Yeah, let's talk about the things we can control.
Yeah.
Will Levis appears to be looking better.
Yeah, Will Levis has come back from injury, and he's not been perfect. And I thought the game against the Chargers, he really stood in the pocket too long.
Yeah.
But Will Levis has started to turn things around a little bit. I mean, of course, it's not enough for me to be like, oh, I'm back in on Levis, but consider my interest peak. Like if he goes and puts a team on his back and the Titans win a few games down the stretch, the outlook's changing a good bit.
Can I ask you one more thing real quick regarding that?
Yeah.
Do you think Levis is playing for his starting job next year?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely he is. Yeah, and so far, I mean, since the injury, it seems like the time off might have done well for him. I mean, he seems more confident. He's going through his reads quicker. He's getting rid of the ball quicker, especially on Sunday. And, it's good to see. And also another thing people talk about too, when a team like the Titans is 2-8, which they are, which is terrible, it's a bottom 3 record in the NFL. It's easy to just kind of quit, just to, stop playing and just to get really down. The Titans aren't doing that. They're fighting hard. They are.
I saw that. I've seen that the last 2 weeks. This team does not look like a team that's quit.
And they're not completely dying in the second half anymore. Like this Titans team, they're small signs, but that's
a credit to the head coach that he's keeping his team fired up.
Yeah, they're not huge signs, but it's enough to say, okay, there's some life here. There are things to build on. There are reasons to be excited as the year goes by. Even though the Titans are not going to make the playoffs, even though the Titans are all but set in stone, we'll have a top 5 pick in the draft. They are showing some signs that things are turned around. Like, look at a team like Jacksonville, for example. And I'm not just saying that because they're a division rival. They look completely dead. They look disinterested. The Titans don't look that way. They are, even on Sunday, they would have had every reason to quit with every call going against them, but they still stay engaged. So I'm ready to watch. And I'm thinking, honestly, one of these next few games, the Titans could win in a game they shouldn't win because they're fighting hard. And again, I just want to see some life. I want to see some reason to believe in Levis, believe in Brian Callahan, believe in Rand Carthon.
And I'm not even worried about like the Titans winning a couple games and ruining their draft stock and their draft pick, because I just want to see this team win as many games as they can. I know it doesn't matter really in the grand scheme of things, and they might mess up their draft pick, but I think a team like this, they need to win some. They need to win some games. They need something good to happen. When they beat the Patriots, that was cool to see them figure out a way to get that in overtime. But this team needs some good things to happen for them. I don't see this as the type of team that is going to benefit from getting It's just not an impressive draft class for me, first of all.
And I've said this pretty much the whole year. Well, mainly since we knew we were going to finish bad, but like, I don't really care what the record ends up being. I don't care where the draft pick is. I just want to see some reasons to have belief, some reasons to be positive, some reasons why there is life within this organization. And we got to see more than 2 or 3 games. But so far, since the beginning of November, we're starting to see things slowly but surely turn around a little bit. And I think the Titans are going to win a few more games down the stretch. I really do.
Interesting. All right, that's Titans Time with Max Greenberg. And that has been episode 252 of Catfish on Ice. Preds wrap up the big road trip on Wednesday against the Seattle Kraken. We just talked about, has this been a success or a failure? I think it's really going to come down to, do they beat Seattle and get their second win in a row? All right, until then, everybody, enjoy your weeks. We're getting closer to Thanksgiving, so get ready for that. Until then, it's been Chad Mitten and Max Greenberg for Catfish on Ice. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.
See you guys later.